War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we sit down, we get together, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us for even just a few minutes of your so very special and hard-earned time. On this live stream, we're going to be discussing the Auburn Tigers taking down the Oklahoma Sooners by the score of 86-68 in Auburn Arena as part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge. I'm saying SEC Big 12, even though it's technically the other way, because we own their butts. At least we do. I can't vouch for the rest of the SEC, but we took care of business ourselves in this challenge. So we're going to talk about that game here, just a live reaction show talking about what we saw, what we heard, what we're thinking about after this game. That's what's on tap for this live stream. And I hope that you'll join in on the conversation here in the chat if you're watching live or if you're watching on Twitter as well. We appreciate you guys all being here for this show. A couple of things to do before we get started here. Most of y'all know the drill and are already taking care of it. Make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content. And right now in the chat, to get things started off, get you used to chatting along and typing, post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all that good stuff. With a War Eagle, let me know where you're watching from and who is watching. Excited about this Auburn Tiger win over the Oklahoma Sooners. A little bit of early welcome to the SEC present for them, if you kind of want to think about it that way. My headphones are on, which means, yes, somebody can call in, but tonight or today, however you're watching this, it is only going to be our Booster Club members. Wednesday nights is always our exclusive, or not exclusive, but open mic night. But on some occasions, we allow the Booster Club members to call in just themselves for being part of that club. So if you're a part of the Booster Club, do check the app, the website for the link to call in if you'd like to do so tonight. All right, let's see who's already here. Leanne's checking in. We got John here. Neil White. Leanne says, what a dunk. Once again, Cambridge contributes in his own way. Kessler was a beast. Jabari a Jaguar. Well on our guards. Even though Wynn wasn't shooting, he fed Kessler and Zepp's best shooting night. Yeah, we'll probably break down each of those little games, those stat lines here just a little bit, but that's a pretty good summation already. Kevin says, much better from Jabari. Wendell had sort of an off game. I don't know that I would call it. Personally, to me, it's an off game, yes, maybe in stats. Sure. But just because you're not scoring the most or doing a lot of the normal stat line things you do doesn't mean it's necessarily an off night. But I see where you're coming from on that. Neil, if anybody hasn't heard yet, Tom Brady has retired. AU signs Bruce Pearl, or for life, and AU gets a big man. What a weekend. A lot of people celebrating for many reasons. Dusty's in the house. Cambridge, a beast with the offensive rebounds. Yes, he was. Again, he has found his niche, I think, in terms of where he can definitely make the biggest difference, not just in his dunks, but overall the athleticism. And you really need some of that on the offensive rebounding thing right now. I know Dusty's probably not loving the Tom Brady news. Let's see here. Let's see. I think a lot of you have already checked in. Vernon's here. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Vernon's got a pretty cool channel. If you guys haven't checked out his, you need to. He talks a lot of Auburn sports there as well. So make sure you go check him out after you're done here. John says, Kessler shooting threes. Yeah, I know it can be a little frustrating to see that happen. Since you brought it up, John, let's talk about it. So his stat line for 3-pointers tonight was 2 of 4. Pretty good in my book. You don't want to have your big men shooting threes a ton. However, if you've got a guy like Kessler who can shoot, it's like kind of like Dirk Nowitzki when he was in the NBA. If they're going to leave him open and they got everybody else covered down, why not take the shot? It's as long as he's not looking to shoot. And when I say by that, as long as he's not focused, that's his focus. That's what I'm going to do. But if it's given to him, you have the ability to shoot the ball. Like you're pretty good at it. Why not take it? That's kind of what I think. But it is still frustrating to see that happen. And were they taking it at the right times? I don't know. But hey, 2 for 4. He's a lot better than some other people tonight in 3-point shot percentage wise. What exactly did Dylan get a technical for? I believe the terminology that was used on the television was taunting. As much as I love Katie and Dylan, they could stand it sometimes to kind of be just a little bit more careful with their excitement and where they direct it. If you notice, a lot of times when they're pumping the crowd up, they'll actually focus on either their teammates or the crowd and not try to do it in the direction of the players, because the opposing players, because then you could get a technical. And I think that's probably what happened. Is he got excited. It was really just kind of trying to find the opposite way to do it, and ended up kind of showing that he was taunting another player. So that's technically what it was, according to the announcers on screen. Obviously, it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things at this. I missed last night's live stream. So happy we locked up Bruce Pearl. Yes. Real quick, I will probably do a video coming up pretty soon, breaking down the contract on that. There's not a lot of information that's come out about it, some years and figures, but I'm more interested to see if there's going to be some more news coming out about what exactly else he got in addition to that. So it'll be one of two things. Either that video will come out later this evening, or it won't. I'm debating right now just doing our normal best meme show video tomorrow, around mid-afternoon, and then dropping the Bruce Pearl conversation and what his contract looks like on Monday. We'll see what happens, though. I'm kind of biding my time, trying to see if some more details will come out, because while it's cool to see how much he actually got and the figures and all that, how it compares to that kind of stuff, I don't know if there's going to be any more extra information coming out about that. Kevlar, something we do need to talk about. 19 wins as of beginning of this game. 20-win season now. That is incredible. Cool Luke says, what did you think of the game? In general, I thought it was a little sloppy at times. I thought Auburn, again, is just too talented for some of these teams, even when they're being sloppy. And I kind of think that's what you saw happen at the end there. Is Oklahoma, time and time again, kind of kept responding. And even when they took advantage of Auburn making mistakes, it just wasn't enough. Oklahoma clearly isn't where they have been as a team, as a program, as of late this year. But, if Auburn isn't as sloppy as they were at times in this game, they would have run away with this thing within 10 minutes max, and it would have been all over with. Those mics are getting really good on the court. You can hear everything being said. Yes, you can, if you listen carefully enough. Almost got the dub by the dub. War Eagle. Devin checking in. Good win. Glad we got off to a fast start and didn't have to come from behind. Something I want to do a better job is kind of asking you guys some specific things about the game. What was your favorite play? Do you guys have a specific play that came to mind that was your favorite? A moment, things like that. We're going to do player of the game and all that stuff in a little bit, but this is a reaction show, and as much as I like sharing my thoughts, I want to hear mainly from you all and see what you think. So if you had a favorite play of the game, type that now in the chat right now, or even if you're watching on the replay, what was your favorite play of the game? Because I'd love to hear that. Brody, we're probably not going to talk about that. The Tom Brady news I could care less about, to be honest with you. Not trying to shuck that to the side, but I don't really watch NFL all that much. And I mean, it's interesting to not have him in NFL, but yeah, that's all I can say for it. If I say any more, Dusty's going to start crying on us. So I can't say too much more about it. We're already 1-0 against Oklahoma in SEC play. Well, if you choose to look at it that way, Doug, yes, we are. It was a bit of a kind of welcome to the SEC moment, even though that's probably 1 to 2 years away. I know technically it's 4 years away now based on the timeline, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, if they move that up at all. By the way, we got a new channel member, Darlene. Thank you so much for signing up to be a member of this channel. You can too by hitting the join button down below. All it takes is $1 a month, and you get access to little emojis. You get a little icon next to your name, however long you stay, or however long you've been a member, and all that kind of stuff. It's the little Tumors Corner toilet papers. That's what your little icon is. So thank you so much for your vote of confidence in us and choosing to be a channel member here. We need to get everything in sync before playing Alabama. Well, so here's the advantage of playing at home, right? You don't necessarily you want to always be in sync, but you have the advantage of the home court stuff going on there. The momentum is going to be on your side. The intimidation factor is going to be there for Alabama. I have a feeling they're going to be playing a little bit emotional after what they've been through. The way we've been giving it to them, everybody else has been giving it to them, are probably going to be coming off of a thrashing of Baylor. I know I could be wrong. What, this could be off in the future. That maybe Alabama upset Baylor in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, but I don't foresee that happening. But they are definitely going to come in emotional and I think prone to making mistakes. Devin, thank you for being faithful as always in posting how many tweet responses, the memes, they are blasting the post-game score for Oklahoma. 2,081 in 10 minutes. Well done. That seems to be about our average in 10 minutes, hitting about 2,000. I'd like to see us make it 250 or 2,500 in the first 10 minutes. Favorite play was the Sonny Smith banner. Now, here's the thing that I'm most disappointed about, that I wasn't able to go see that. Yes, I would never trade being able to be in that Kentucky game. But, there was a moment where I was not going to go to Kentucky last week, and I was going to make every effort to be here for this one just because it was cool. It's the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And now that I know that Sonny got his banner raised, it has just been an incredible week of Auburn basketball. Like going back to last Saturday, let's recount that. Pearlville, whatever you want to call it now at this point, happened. The Kentucky win, Joe Champy for women's basketball getting a banner raised for him. Auburn gets number 1. They get a heart-stopping win against Missouri. Number 4, Tennessee is taken down by our Lady Tigers in Auburn Arena. And then this game, and Sonny Smith gets his banner raised. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for as an Auburn basketball. And Bruce Pearl got locked up. Done. Over with. Best week in college basketball ever for Auburn. At least, I think so. Outside of a national championship. And I guess you could count that whole making it to the Final Four, the run to the Final Four, if you want to as well. That double pass layup at the very end was sweet. How about the whole Dylan Cardwell situation of just throwing it up for a lob and then making it anyway? Like, that's the funniest thing is, as emotional as Dylan gets, he's a very good teammate. And he's looking there not to make the highlight reel play, and because he probably could have posterized the guy, just threw it up to Devin Cambridge so he could posterize, and threw it too far, and it went into the basket. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Devin says not a specific play, but love Walker Kessler's three-pointer. So good to see. Before you got here, Devin, we were discussing that a little bit. John and I were about, yes, it can be a little bit frustrating to see those big men do that, but if they're going to give it to you, you want to put that on tape. You need to come out and guard me, because what that'll do, and he's now got 50% of the night, that shows opposing teams, hey, you might want to come up a little bit closer to keep him from having a pretty wide open shot at that. And if you do that, then, that's going to open up that lane a little bit more for driving, like KD and Zepp like to do. So it pays dividends. It is frustrating, like John was talking about earlier, but if they make them, if you're good enough to shoot that ball and be given the green light by your head coach, I say do it all day. Zepp's sequence with the free throws and then the steal and the points with like 2 minutes left in the first half. Great steal. Zepp played really well tonight. I thought in a lot of aspects of his game, you won't really see him at the top of the stat lines, but it was still a pretty solid night. Yahari, thanks for checking in, sir. Clint Richardson checking in as well. Let's not forget women's gymnastics winning against Alabama. Yeah, I was kind of throwing that into my comments about Alabama earlier, but yeah, if you want to just say that in the best basketball week ever for Auburn, gymnastics was like the cherry on top for everything. Just completely awesome. Completely awesome. Sonny, yes. Sonny, it's how do you not love Sonny Smith? Sonny Smith is just the bomb.com. Love the dude. He is absolutely just a mate. He's just a gentleman. He's a great basketball. John, I didn't mean you were frustrated. I guess we were just more discussing the interesting factor of all that kind of stuff. Felix, thanks for checking in. One of our Booster Club members, channel members. Thank you, sir, for being here so much. So we talked a little bit about your favorite plays of the game. Right now, let's talk about who your favorite player of the game. Who is that for you? Put that in the chat window right now, and then we'll kind of use that to springboard off of some conversation pieces for how they performed individually. But I'd like to know what's on your mind in terms of who would be the player of the game. You have several choices, I think. Usually it feels like we have one or two, but I think you can make a case for several players in this game for very different reasons. Personally, when I start looking at some of these things, just outside of who scored the most points, right? As usual, I think there's going to be some common themes here. We got Kessler. You met Zuni Lee in the jungle. Yes. Walker Kessler. First half, Jabari Smith. Second half, Devin Cambridge. Jay brought up another play. Wendell Green throwing that lob up to Cardwell for the dunk. It looked like he had decided midair. I think Wendell decides a lot of things way in advance of most people. That's the one thing about basketball for me that I love, and it's different in most ways than other sports. It's a very cerebral game that if you are not thinking 3 steps ahead of where you need to be, where your opponents, where your teammates, you are having to account for yourself, your teammates, your opponents, and think ahead to how you can position not only yourself, but your teammates and your opponents in a way that's going to maximize your opportunities. It's a very cerebral game, and you can see that the game is called the game slowing down. It slows down a lot for Wendell Green, which is why he's so deadly in everything that he does. Leanne says Kessler's complete game in every way, offense, defense. He dominated. Jabari with the comeback game from that rough outing at Mizzou. Absolutely. If you're going to give, the comeback award for this game, it's definitely Jabari. There's no doubt there. Jabari, KJ's enthusiasm, Smith, player of the game. Let's take a look at some of them, okay? So your starters again are the same tonight: KD Johnson, Jabari Smith, Sepp Jasper, Walker Kessler, Alan Flanagan. Flanagan's really quiet again. I think he's still getting used to the rhythm and everything of coming off that injury, which is what you'd expect. I think a lot of people would probably tell you they think it's taken him a little bit longer than they would have liked. I personally just felt like this was going to be the case, so it hasn't really surprised me all that much. But it shows you the respect that he has from the coaches and his teammates, that they still continue to start him. Just because you score the points or don't score the points doesn't mean that you're not contributing in some way to this team. He's still taking attention away from others. People have to pay attention to Alan Flanagan because he'll turn it on if he gets the thing going and figured out. Leading score tonight, Jabari Smith, huge comeback game, 23 points, 6 for 14 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 points, 9 for 10 from free throws. Yes, sir, I will take it. Speaking of which, you guys know my sticking point is always free throws, 85%. Well done. Well done, Auburn Tigers. You have made me happy. I love seeing that. Player of the game was Cardwell for Thomas. In many ways, you could probably make a case for that. Dylan Cardwell, 8 points tonight, 3 rebounds, very emotional at times in 10 minutes of play, 4 for 5 from the field. So, yeah, I mean, I think you could probably make a case for him to be in the discussion as well. This has been an awesome week for Auburn sports. I hope we finish it off with a great football signing day coming up second. Well, that'd be the start of another week, so maybe it'll just get even better now. So, yeah, we will probably do some discussion on that this Wednesday. I haven't decided exactly, are we going to do 2 streams that day, or if we're going to just all encompass into 1 stream. That's probably what's going to happen, but we'll see. Is Flanagan going to the draft or staying for 1 more year? Well, I don't know. You have to ask him. He has probably not made that decision yet. I would imagine, much like he did last year, he will put his name into the draft just to see what happens, just like JT Thor did. JT Thor just put his name into the draft just to see what would happen, and he found out he needed to go, and he was right. So with that being said, I would say he puts his name into the draft and probably comes back at this point. Now, if he turns it on like we've seen him do, he may be gone as well. Cardwell's best game this season. Probably so. Maybe not so in terms of points, but in terms of production and what he was able to do for the team tonight was very, very good for him. I wonder if all his rebounds actually were offensive rebounds. I feel like I can pull this up real quick and look at it. Let's see here. Cardwell rebounds. Yep. Offensive rebounds, all 3 of them. So that's probably, if you're going to make a case for Dylan Cardwell being player of the game, that's where you really got to point to. And look at that right there. I love our depth on this team. Even if one guy has an off game, the next man up is reliable. Absolutely. So, and they talked a little bit about on the TV today. They said, instead of calling it a first and second string, they call them lines. First line, second line. You see, I think they talk. Dusty, please forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn here. This is kind of a terminology they use with hockey. While technically it is the second string, they're intended to come in and there not be much of a drop off. And that's very much what's happened here for Auburn this season. You've seen Kentucky do that. There was one season where it was literally like their second five that they would bring in was still miles better than anyone's first five, especially in the SEC. I wouldn't say Auburn's teams like that Kentucky team quite yet, but they certainly are getting there. Linda's going to the Bama game. Whoop, whoop. I would love to be there, covering all that kind of stuff, but I will be sadly watching. It's going to be a late game, and it's going to be a late night live stream here for us too, so make sure y'all tune in for that. Cardwell's best game was against Alabama. I'd have to go back and look at that to compare, but here's the thing. Dylan Cardwell, I think the last couple of games has shown some mishandling the ball issues, but every time he makes mistakes, he seems to respond. And that's all you can ask of is when you make a mistake, make up for it, make up the difference. Dusty says, yes, lines are more based on how a group of guys play together. Your best player can be a second liner. There you go. So perfect example, Wendell Green. He is the sixth man, meaning he's the first one off the bench usually. He really is the true point guard. But because the first five start so well together, you let them go out there, and then you bring Wendell in, and he's just a dagger. So that's what, that's the way to kind of think about this going forward. Yes, everybody wish early birthday to Linda, if you can. Bama game makes me nervous as all get out. It feels like a trap game. I really don't want that. If this was a game at Alabama, I would very much be in the same camp with you, Thomas. I do think Alabama is going to come out ready to make an upset. Very emotional. Wouldn't even be surprised if they get out to a lead, but I just don't think they're going to be withstand the pressure in Auburn Arena. They are talented, but they are more mistake prone than even we are in some of the sloppy games that we have had. So I am very much in the camp of we're going to be fine. But I respect and understand where you're coming from and your caution. Everybody, we had the discussion of what's the next best, or not best, but worst trap game for Auburn left. I think there are far more deadly options than Alabama at home. Katie Johnson tonight, 13 points, 3 for 9 from the field, 2 for 5, two big 3-pointers from early on in the game. I think they were free throws, 5 for 6, pretty good overall for him. Nothing really like flashy outside of the energy they had brings. He hits them at the right moments. Talked about Jabari. Zepp, 9 points, 3 for 6 from the field. 100% for free throws, gets 3 rebounds and assists. He's just all over the place in the stat line tonight. So solid performance by him. And we've talked a little bit about Kessler, 21 points, 9 rebounds. This close to another double-double. Just needed one more rebound. I bet he's kicking himself for that at this point. So that's how your starters performed right there. They are doing great against Baylor so far. So what is the score of that game as of this moment? I'd love to know that if y'all can share that. And you're going to the Georgia game too? My goodness. You must be living right if you're getting all those tickets. I am super jealous of that. I would love to go to that game here in Athens, but don't have a ticket yet. So if anybody knows of one, let me know and I might come. Hated some of the turnovers, need better ball control. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's much easier to come back from those mistakes at home than on the road. And let's look at turnovers here. 14 for Oklahoma, only 10 for Auburn. It felt like more to me. We, in fact, benefited more off the turnovers that we took away from them. So in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really matter because they were just about as sloppy. But if that roles had been reversed and we were this sloppy on the road in Norman, Oklahoma, probably is a much different story there. Everybody's giving me the score update for Bama now. I won't bring it up just because don't need to dignify that. But yes, so they seem to be holding their own right now. Baylor's a good team. Alabama's a very talented team, but they are not a very well organized team. Yes, goal-minded. Devin Cambridge has literally turned a notch on for himself that he hasn't had on in terms of rebounding, especially offensive rebounding. He's starting to utilize his athleticism in different ways, more than just I'm going to come screaming in from the wing and throw down a jam from a lob somebody threw up. He's starting to use a little bit more well-rounded skills. So Devin Cambridge tonight, 7 points, 5 rebounds for him. In fact, I want to see, just like I did for Cardwell, what he had 4 offensive rebounds out of the 5. I think I said 4, but 5 total rebounds that he had. So 4 offensive rebounds for him. That is outstanding. That's a guy who's hustling. That's a guy who's getting himself positioned to make a play with the athleticism that he has available. So again, you see this team, even the bench, performing well in the roles that they're given. Everybody seems to know their role and shut their hole. It's the old phrase. Trucked. Cambridge needs to work on his 3-pointers. Yes and no. He, in my opinion, and I think even our podcast host for Inside the Jungle, our Auburn basketball podcast we hear on the network, you'll hear them talking a lot about Devin Cambridge needing to take less 3-pointers. Now, he can make them when he needs to. So if he has the option to take it, and it's pretty easy when he needs to take it, but his athleticism is more geared towards driving, taking it to the hole, putting himself for a more high percentage shot. So I would say that is what I would prefer for him to focus on. But yes, if he wants to have more opportunities to make those 3-pointers, he needs to get in the gym and keep practicing, which I'm sure he's doing. Can both Baylor and Bama lose? I wish it as well. I actually have 2 brothers that went to Baylor for grad school. One's finishing up now. So they love to potentially talk trash. They even gifted me a Baylor basketball shirt. I have, and I actually wore it for the championship game last year for them because I didn't want Gonzaga to win. But even still, if there was a way for that to happen, that would have happened with Alabama, Georgia in the football game, which it didn't. Let's see here. These Bama fans look so cool with their hard hats. What a neat tradition. Yeah, they're definitely trying to copy up a little bit of Auburn energy that we have right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sign Nate Oates to a lifetime contract just so they can say they did it just like we did for Bruce. So anyway, so Auburn takes care of its job in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Now, I don't have it pulled up here, and I'm not going to probably waste our time running over there to see that. I don't know how everybody else is going to fare. Kansas, Kentucky is going to be a good game if that has not happened already. I think Missouri lost to Iowa State. Who is the other game? Arkansas, West Virginia, I think, was the other good matchup that was either happened or coming up. So Auburn's taking care of its side of the equation and put a column in for the SEC. We'll see if the rest of the SEC can hold up their end of the bargain. Personally, I would rather Alabama take the L than take the win for the SEC. That's just how I feel about it. LSU lost, so that's actually a big blow for us, them losing to TCU. I was kind of counting on them to get one in the win column for us. Do you guys like the SEC Big 12 Challenge? Is that something that you want to continue happen every single year? I mean, obviously, we don't have a say in that, but what do you think? Is that something that you all would prefer to continue, or would you rather do something different? I think personally, you won't see the ACC and the Big Ten do something similar with us because they kind of have each other for that, or at least I think they still do. So I think the Big 12 and the SEC make a lot of sense, especially with Oklahoma and Texas coming over to the SEC soon. You'll probably still see that continue so they can see some of their old opponents in basketball, at least. I like it a lot, and I think it's something that should continue personally. We're 1-2 right now. Kentucky plays at 5. That'll be a good game. Everybody needs to check that out. What's the hard game that you think's left on the schedule? A lot of them. At Arkansas, at Mississippi State. Blanking on the other ones that I had picked out the other day. This one I thought was going to be a little bit tougher, but it obviously wasn't. But those two especially. Florida could be a little bit of a challenge on the road. Basically, the road games, because everybody's wanting to knock us off at this point. You can go ahead and mark that in the hard game column. Tennessee is a good one too, Mississippi State, but Arkansas. I would, if out of all of those, Arkansas and Eric Musselman scare me the most. You wouldn't mind the Big Ten. You think it's a great challenge, but we wouldn't mind a Big Ten challenge. It'd be cool to see us rotate through that, with the other 4 big conferences, and kind of say this year's the SEC Big Ten or the SEC ACC challenge. That would be really cool. But there is something to this whole kind of it happening every year. The problem with the SEC Big 12 challenge is it's already not equal a number of teams. They have 10 or 11, one of the two, and we have 14. So some teams from the SEC always have to sit out, and it doesn't really, they try to, I think, rotate at least one out every year. I think Kentucky's pretty much guaranteed to be in there every year. We probably are now. But the problem is when Oklahoma and Texas come over, it's even more skewed. I know some teams are coming over. They're not really focused basketball schools, though, for the most part. UCF, a little bit. Houston, a little bit. But, well, actually, this year, pretty good. So they'll probably have to change something up there. Goal-minded. Great question. Since you led me into this, we'll get back to these comments and questions, but let me go ahead and give you those ways that you can do that. Check out the links in the description. They're all down there below. They'll help you get to your options to support our content here. Easiest thing for you to do here on YouTube is to become a channel member. That's $1 a month. We just had Darlene Stokes, I think it was, sign up to become a channel member earlier in the stream. You can go over to E2C Network Booster Club, the patreon.com/E2C Network. That's kind of the similar thing. You just get extra perks there for different levels. That's per month as well, but it starts at $1 a month. There's a PayPal down there where you can do a one-time donation. There's TeePublic where you can buy our gear. All of that is in the the description. And there's the Booster Club as well with the typed out link if you'd like to write that down. But it's all listed in the description for this video. So that's what our video is brought to you by today, is our stuff here. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that with you. Kind of segued me right into there. I don't care about interconference matchups in basketball. It seems like to have more of an impact in football. In hoops, one game doesn't mean as much. Being a Big 12 team in particular doesn't mean anything to me. It's not a bad way to kind of look at it. With so many games, it tends to get watered down. And I think that's why you continue to see this happen, because it's not as big of a deal to pull it off every year. Now, when, like we talked about, Oklahoma and Texas come into the league, does it happen again? Probably not. They're going to probably have to find a new format to do with somebody else, or who knows at this point. Tennessee and Florida. So yeah, Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Those are big ones on the road. I mean, it was Thomas earlier that said he's worried about the Alabama game. You should be. You should be worried about every single game left on Auburn's schedule, even the Georgia one, because everybody wants to knock off the number 1 team. That is, if they don't take us away from it, away from us this week for the performance against Missouri and stuff. Don't think some people aren't going to do it. They will. You need to prepare yourself for that. Will it keep us from being number 1? I don't think so. But we've seen someone rank us number 9 previous this season, so I don't put anything, past people at this point. Thanks for checking in. Baylor back up on Bama. Look at that. Like I told you, Baylor's a really, really good team. The Hump, as they call it, Humphrey Coliseum, I think, is a very tough venue to play in. Devin, if you're still here, can you give us an update on tweet count on the memes for the post-game score? I'd like to know that as we get towards the end of our show here on the stream. Kind of bringing it back, though, a little bit full circle. Anything else stuck out to you about this game that we haven't talked about? We walked through some of the players and their individual performance, some of the highlight moments, players of the game we've talked about. For me, the thing that I walk away being the most happy with is taking care of the little things. Free throw percentage, 85%. That's like, that's, I know I want perfection, but I will take that every day, 85%. And every time I'm sitting here in the office, right here in front of this, watching it go up, and I'm doing that, every single time. And I'm just like, my little heart is so happy. Also, we did pretty decent in turnovers despite having the sloppy play tonight. Destroyed them in the rebound game, 29-41. And then in those areas, so those things that we always focus on, those little things, Auburn did very well in. Coupling that with their home court advantage made it a very tough environment for Oklahoma. 23-98, almost 2,400 in 38 minutes. Seems like we might hit 2,500 by the end of this thing, but I know Oklahoma doesn't get people as excited, but I hope it does. I can't wait for this Tuesday with what's going to happen to Alabama. I think we're probably going to break some records because you've got, gymnastic stuff to talk about them with, all kinds of stuff at this point, lifetime contract stuff. It's just coming out. I think there is actually someone keeping track of how many memes we do per team and all that kind of stuff online. The guy who ranked us number 9 is from Kansas City. He will hold the Mizzou game against us. Well, he says that he does it based off of the metrics and some of those unique stats, ranking-based things. So, yeah, remember, his job is to get clicks, and I'm willing to bet when he did the whole number 9 thing, he knew what he was doing, and he did it on purpose because he knew the type of response that he would get. Realistically, how bad do you think our Twitter will get rated after our next loss? Oh, so rated. In fact, I spoke to Auburn Memes on a recent podcast. Oh, by the way, we got to talk about what's coming up on this network, this channel this week. In just a minute, got something really cool coming out tomorrow that I want to give you guys a heads up on. Don't let me forget that. How bad will we get rated? So bad. But I talked to Auburn Memes, and I think there's discussions of us to rate our own meme tweet with our own memes being self-deprecating to kind of counteract that, even though it'll only raise up the numbers. I don't know if they're still planning on doing that, but I kind of love that because it kind of shows the point of this, that don't take it so seriously. It's just a joke thing. If we can joke on ourselves. You saw that with some of the memes after the Missouri game and some of the ones that I shared here in our video of the top ones, that a lot of them were self-deprecating, making fun of us for struggling that much or being like, whew, that kind of things. It's all about having fun. Don't take it so seriously, opponents. It's not meant to be like us trying to come after you personally and stuff like that. That's my advice for that. All right, keep the comments and questions going. Let me go ahead and do this and give you guys a heads up of what's coming up this week. Tomorrow, brand new podcast on E2C Extra, which is where we kind of cover off-the-wall topics. I spoke with Allie Davidson, the former beat writer. Well, she worked for Rivals. I don't know if she considered herself a beat writer, and I would assume so, back in the day. And we've had a conversation before, but she sat down with me to talk about her involvement in helping the students get fed and take care of, and the donation that resulted of it towards cancer foundations as a result of Pearlville for the Kentucky game. It's a really cool conversation, so I hope you guys will pay attention to that. Subscribe to the podcast if you can't, so you can listen to it. You can listen to it here on YouTube, but obviously we do ask that you subscribe to the podcast in the traditional formats, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. It's out there available for you. Live show on Wednesday where everybody can call in. Tuesday, or actually, let me back up a second here. Let me clarify all that because we've got a crazy schedule this week. I'm going to actually pull up my calendar so we can clarify some of these things. Yes, Tuesday night after the game, we will have a live show breaking down our reaction to the Alabama games, just like we're doing here. Wednesday, we'll have a live stream, most likely talking about National Signing Day. And stay tuned because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of videos the rest of the week and a lot of podcasts. This is one of the busier times for me all season. So I'm getting like, I'm going to bed late every night and getting up early as I can. So lots of content for you all to consume here. Let's see here. Make memes that congratulate the other team and spam their Twitter. That would be a good way to do it. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Dusty says, not a fan of meme blasting ourselves. Take it how LSU did. I think personally, if it's fine to do it either way, the whole point of it is just a joke. And I don't think we should get, upset if people do it to us and the other way around. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all a goof. It's all a gag. 38-34 Bama over Baylor at halftime. There you go. The best one this season is you just ran into a brick wall, Walker Kessler. Yes. Sports Talk channel. Well, we've been talking about Oklahoma the entire time, so you've missed a lot of that. You'll have to go back and watch the replay. But just real quick, briefly, I think Oklahoma is definitely a little bit down in terms of a program this year. It's either that or Auburn is just that good. I mean, they are the number one team. They did show the ability to fight back, but I think the talent of Auburn, especially at home with that advantage that comes, was just too much for them. Really like the Brooks guy, if that's what his name was. I think it was his name. Groves, not Brooks. We had two Groves, actually. The big one, the big guy, Brooks, was really good. Kind of Walker Kessler-esque with just a little bit better shot. So that was pretty good. Who are your top 5 players on Oklahoma? I don't know them well enough. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to tell you that one. Turn Oklahoma upside down. Wow, we got a lot of Oklahoma people popping in here all of a sudden, or at least people wanting to talk about that. Blake Dupuy, good to see you. Thanks for being here, and I appreciate that, Blake. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy watching our content here. Blake Griffin, you're asking best all-time Oklahoma basketball players. Well, Blake Griffin's the only one that I know to be, and guy who plays for the Hawks now. We played against him. Help me, somebody. Young? No? Something? I can't remember. I honestly don't know Oklahoma basketball that well. I focus on Auburn stuff here, so that's kind of Trey. Thank you, Trey. That was his name. That's who I couldn't remember. But hey, speaking of, I got to give a shout out to Gary Gesh. I think I'm pronouncing y'all's last name correctly now. I hope so. These guys and their family are part of the reason I got into the Kentucky game. Thank you guys again so much. I know I've said that before, but since I've seen your comment here, got to give you a shout out because you guys are the bomb. And they have a cool show too. You need to go check that out. If you can remind me, Gary, exactly. I have it written down. In fact, I think I have it here in my notes somewhere. Let me see if I can pull it up. But you can share it in the chat right now if you'd like to. But it's not coming up on my notes right now, or my notes aren't coming up. Oh, there it goes. Sorry, I know this is a little bit off the wall here in terms of what we normally talk about, but I got to tell you, these guys made my night. So if you want to share the name of your show that you have, your podcast, I'd be happy to let you share that here. Trey Young, that was the name of it. Trey Young. Auburn Post Podcast. Go check it out. 2 young guns in the space of Auburn podcasting and content creation. So many basketball players these days have wild hair. I like that Kessler and Jabari just have normal hair. Oh, I think it's been that way for a long time, but you are seeing some unique styles now. It's not like in football where it's part of the uniform. So with that being said, I want you guys to get your last minute comments and questions in real quick. We're about to wind down here. As I've talked about, take a look in the description for some of the ways that you can help support our content here. If you haven't, smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content, and be subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content. Tons coming out this week. We'll have a top memes video coming out very soon. So don't want to miss out on that as well. We appreciate you guys being here tonight. All right, final comments and questions. People popping in a little late, but good to see you all here. If Kessler hits those 2 open threes like he did tonight, we will be tough. And when Jabari scores, we win easy. Jabari just scores regardless of whether we're winning or losing. He has just got a very, very clean shot. Very, very clean shot. Appreciate the kind words. Who was it that popped over here? Always love the podcast or the broadcast. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. A lot of people saying the same thing here. Imagine I donated 10,000. Well, I don't know that any of those things would allow me to accept $10,000, but I appreciate your virtual $10,000 if that's what you're saying. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Great crowd as always. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family, and I hope to talk to you again very soon. See you here on the channel or see you listening on the podcast or on social media. Again, great to spend some time with you. And until next time,